What's up, everybody? It's your favorite construction crew's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the master-made Devastator Constructicon set. Usually, you know, we start with accessories and we kind of move through it. Today we're going to do things a little differently, and we're going to kind of get straight to combine mode, and then we'll go from combine mode to their individual modes. Before we get to combine mode, as we move through each piece, we'll talk about the alt mode of each piece. But before we do that, we're going to take Tiger Tracks, and we're going to sit him down right there so that you can see a size comparison with Tiger Tracks before all of this madness gets started. So with that being said, let's talk about some alt modes. So we'll start with Mixmaster. And we have some nice gray Tampo paint both on the green and on the purple here. The barrel doesn't roll, but that's fine. The cab doesn't move. However, if you unlock this purple piece, you could get it to like move one direction, but it would only, because of the ankle rocker, it only moves one direction. So if you wanted to make a right, for instance, he'd have to make 3 lefts, which is fine. Rolls like a champ. Nice caution paint both there and on the back. And then we have the orange kind of lights throughout as well with the translucent glass here in the front. Not all these vehicle modes look great. This is one of the better looking ones. Getting into leg mode, break this connection here with this purple piece. Split the legs, tuck the purple piece in. Then pull this green piece away from that green piece on both sides. And then you just tab them together at the front and back. Pull the barrel out just a bit and then disconnect this piece from the back. Flip this peg in, and underneath here you'll see corresponding holes and tabs, and just shove that in, so to speak. All right, and then we have Scrapper. And once again, this is one of the ones that I think works fairly well. Nice caution paint once again. This is a common theme for this set, as it probably should be. And then the marker lights, yellow lights. We got brake lights back in the back with the metallic red that look really good. Rolls, the front end loader operates on a hinge and a secondary hinge as well. Tampo paint on the side of there, gray paint, like translucent plastic for the windshields. You know, like they know how to deco a figure. There's no doubt about it. And then to get it into leg mode, bring the front end loader bit up and collapse it. Untab your side kind of fender pieces, for lack of a better term. Flip up the pieces there, and then this comes back around. And actually, I guess does that flip? I feel like that looks better in pictures. I'll double check to make sure I got that right. Flip that piece down. Same for this. Flip that piece. It's 180 and then around, and that tabs into the side. Then on the back, untab the wheels. Double hinge them up and over, and they'll plug back into the top kind of the side of the vehicle. And then you've got to get this piece out that pulls straight out there and then plugs back in to the rear of the vehicle here. Ooh, and his head just popped off. I should probably go ahead and say, if I haven't said already, this is all known to me from Robert D, obviously, and he's worried about some of the parts to this and very concerned that I might break this one as well. So I'm on a pretty good streak recently of not breaking stuff, so hopefully it can continue. Next up is Bonecrusher. This is one of the ones that doesn't quite work as nicely. The kind of bulldozer part of it doesn't really function as well as you would like. The front cab part doesn't really look quite right. The treads look good and then had the silver paint on them, but this is one of the ones that kind of doesn't stand up next to the others, so to speak. To get him ready, it's relatively simple. Untab the 2 side tracks and then insert the arm. You got a tab and a peg, which goes into a slot and a hole on the corresponding sides. Hopefully you can see that. And you just wrap it around and then close the tracks around it. And it's a little hard to do. There. And you're good to go. Next up, we have Scrapper. It doesn't roll the tracks once again, right? But this one works fairly well. The metallic blue for the windshields looks arguably better than the blue translucent they've used for the other pieces. The crane, obviously, hinge, swivel, hinge. Whoa. Sorry, Robert. and then a hinge here, and then obviously this bit's open and close. It's pretty good. I look at all that. Like, I know that's like chest details and stuff, but it looks good for the back of the vehicle as well. It really comes through. So yeah, I think that this one is super effective. To get him into combine mode, it's very similar. You just kind of open up these pieces here. You take your plug-in hand piece. This tab goes into there. And then the two tracks come around and peg back in and secure it. And then you just sort of collapse that up against the top of the shoulder. Next, we'll do hook and rolls like a champ. We have the translucent plastic again. We have the metallic blue on the side. And I'll be honest with you, that to me, I didn't notice it, but it's on Mixmaster as well. That's a little strange to me. Like, kind of choose one or the other. But yeah, be that as it may, still looks pretty good. Still looks pretty accurate. I don't think this extends at all. But you do have the swivel at the base of it, and then obviously a hinge here. And I think that the you just never know with this stuff like Master made, because they pack so much little fun stuff into them that I'm like hesitant to say it doesn't when it may. But yeah, Tampo paint, orange paint, gray paint, kind of typical stuff we've come to expect at this point looking into these vehicle modes, but impressive nonetheless. To transform, flip the head up, untab the side arm pieces, flip this piece down, and then flip the head down, but continue to kind of cover the face to the best you can with that piece there. All right, extend this, split the legs, take this piece, double hinge it back, and wrap the track, the rear wheels around to the bottom of the figure. Now the objective is to get this peg into that hole. So you have to flip these wheels around for one, and there's like a breakaway joint here that'll come back around and peg in. So same for the other side, flip the wheel around, there's a breakaway joint, bring that back and peg in, move this down to the bottom. And then the last step is open up these pieces here, they're on the side, and they'll come back around and tab in to the gray piece that was the breakaway joint. Now long haul is a little trickier, and also where Robert wants me to use extreme caution. So we're going to go through alt mode, and then we're going to transform into robot mode, and then we're going to go from robot mode into combine mode, just because that's the kind of natural flow of it. But as far as alt mode goes, rolls like a champ. I think it works fairly well. This front end piece here definitely adds to it, and wait till you see what this all does. It's pretty interesting. And other than that, same caution, you know, the marker lights, some little details, some gray paint added, sort of typical, some red metallic up there, but pretty much the typical stuff you come to expect at this point. Okay, so for long haul robot mode, you take this backpack down and then you spin it 180 and sort of rest it against his back. Take this chest piece that's on a double hinge, break it away from the chest, bring it down so that it sits in line with the pelvis. Then slide the pelvis forward until it interlocks with the former chest piece. Bring the helmet piece up, and then spin that back around to cover his face, and then take his arms up to the front, spin them so that the tires go to the inside of the chest, and then spin the arms back out to the back, and then bring the head down so that that is now the chest. Spin the toes back around 180. And you can untab this piece, flip it down, fold it back in. So same on the other side. Ooh, that didn't sound good. Untab this piece, fold it down, flip it back in. And then your last step is to kind of break away this other green piece, slide it up and over and tab in the one side of the green piece, I'm not sure if you could see it, into that little gray capsule. So same thing here. This little green tab goes inside of there. So get it up and over. And then that tab goes in there. And then here's kind of the pieces that we're left with. So open up here. You got two tabs that will correlate. So there we go. One leg in. This side's a little easier. You just slide that piece into there. I should have never said that was easier. All right, then you take hook and this piece, that will cover up the head, and then it tabs into two pegs and two tabs. And then this will sit down on all of these corresponding pegs. So just get that as sorted as you can. Boom. Then this arm slides right down, and this arm slides right down, and it's this notch here that's fitting around like a slot, and it'll snap in place. And then take your head, so to speak, and this peg goes into there. This tab goes around that little bump, right? So you see the notch out here in the neck. And there it is. I'll get it cleaned up. We'll take a look at it. So let's talk about the figure. The head is on, I can't even really, it feels like just a single ball peg. As a result, you can get the head up to there, down to there, and the swivel. We have translucent red. It does have a light up feature, I believe. At least I think it does. So that's probably why it ends up looking a little dead. Which is a bummer, but the silver paint on it looks good, as does the Tampo paint on the head. Now, on the back here, there's this piece here, and that brings down your glasses. And there's that piece that hinges, and that closes the mouth or opens it. All right, I must not have had that down all the way. There is some slight tolerance things here. So like you see that one is coming right out because I don't have it quite down all the way, and there it is. Now it won't. Now it's just pulled the other piece, and that's my fault from putting too much force in it trying to prove a point. All right, let me fix this. We'll be right back. Here we are. Okay, so the shoulders, you actually have a reverse butterfly on a hinge here, and a forward butterfly. It's limited, but it's nice to have. The shoulder universals get you out to 90 degrees. Ratcheted, of course. And then ratcheted for 360 as well. Bicep swivel. The elbow is double jointed, I think. And that gets you a little bit past 90 degrees. The wrist hinges out for outward inward motion. And then where the hand plugs in is on a ball peg, so you'll get the wrist swivel there, in addition to up, down, and even more in and out, so to speak. And then you have the fingers themselves are individually articulated on pins, on a primary and secondary knuckle, and then the thumb is on a primary swivel hinge and then a secondary hinge. So fully articulated fingers, and then you have the orange, metallic red, and Tampo paint on the forearm. Really, 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 really pretty stunning. He does have a waist swivel. It is limited. You kind of got to make sure that you got clearance here. And let's see if I can't. So there you go. And if you would, I think that's going to be all you run into for the most part. You might be able to get some extra if you, kind of really manipulate the hips and stuff. All right, so then we have the hips themselves. They're tensioned out to the side. Not the full Van Damme, but I think more than one would ever need. And then a thigh swivel. And then we have a double jointed knee. Let me get this out of the way. For the full run. This is nuts. And then we have ankle swivel, ankle tilt down, up, and a rocker. Ankle swivel, ankle tilt up, down, and a rocker. So pretty much fully articulated. I will go over the accessory here while we have him out. And it's just this, his kind of signature purple weapon. We have some orange paint, some Tampo paint, some silver paint, some translucent reds, of course, and then a peg in the handle that will peg into the hand itself. No issues there. You also get 2 of these drill hands. The drills themselves are painted silver, and then we have the caution, we have the Tampo paint, some orange stuff, and then some this translucent plastic in there. And this kind of goes on similarly to the guns, which is if you take the hand and sort of have his thumb towards you, and then open this handle up here, so that you can plug it into the palm of his hand like you did the gun. And then wrap this around. But it is a little tricky. You got to make sure that... See? You got to make sure that it stays in position. It's just a little tricky. But that's the basic principle. Here's one that I've got in. Size comparison wise, there he is next to Acid Storm, so pretty much the size of an MP Seeker. I mean, it's a pretty impressive unit, to be fair, at the end of the day. Now, there's one additional thing that you can do with him, and that's using this, which is like the kind of stand-up display, like diorama almost piece. It has a light-up feature, batteries aren't installed. Tampo paint, this stuff usually looks pretty cool. The light is usually right there. And you can take the head off, and I think you're actually supposed to take more than just the head. You're supposed to take this whole piece here. And then you're left with this. You can kind of sit this to the side. We'll attach the head back. And now you have a kind of more proportioned head, right? And we can take this and apply it to our other guy. I'll show you how. You just take the head off, and then this piece comes down over top and slides in, and I might have to do this off camera just to make sure that it's nice and stable and stuff, but I think you get the general point. But it doesn't stop there, folks. There's more that we can do. Then you take this piece, which also comes in the box, split that. That will come down and tab in the same way that Scrapper did. Hugging and encapsulating that gray piece there, and then you can take Scrapper and apply him back on in the same manner that you did previously around that peg, which I will try to show briefly, but I'm not going to waste too much time because we've already seen how that works. But there. And then the same for Mixmaster, just slide him off. Then you're going to want to slide this piece on, and then slide him on again. And I'll clean him up, we'll take a look at him. And then you get this look. And it's up to you which one you prefer. I think I actually prefer the more distorted look. I think it gives it just a little bit more character and nuance, but it still works the same. You still get a double jointed knee. Same goes for the other side, I'm sure. Yeah. So, and then the head, you get a swivel or a ball peg, so you get a little bit up, a little bit down, and then a swivel back and forth. And it's just changes the proportions a bit, right? And kind of the overall presentation. But I'm not sure it's enough to kind of want to swap out. I kind of like the kind of goofiness of the big head, so to speak. Good grief. To go to bot mode, we'll go through them all. We'll start with Mixmaster. Flip this purple piece up again. Separate the legs, and you want to push these feet out. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it. There. Push on the... There it is. If you push on the windshield, that'll give you the leverage to then flip the feet out. There it is. Okay, good. I thought I was going to have to get... There we go. Flip them out. And then tuck the pelvis piece underneath. Spin the waist 180. Untab the arms from the head. And pull out. They are in a gray socket that you can use to then rotate up. And then spin the head around. And we'll go through articulation and talk about the figure a bit. So the metallic red eyes and crest look great. The shoulders are on ball pegs. That gets you up to 90 degrees. It gets you a swivel around. You got to be careful of the joint, of course. And it gets you out. Did we do that? Get you out to a little close to 90 degrees. Bicep swivel. Single hinged elbow. Wrist swivel. Waist swivel. And teapot one way because of the ankle rocker. Nice detailings on the chest with the silver paint and the orange paint. And then the hips are on T-jointed ball joints. Gets you out to there, forward and back to there. And the knees spin down. I actually think you can slide this leg a little bit more towards the inside, but it's just for aesthetics. The knee gets you a little less than 90 degrees. And then we get an ankle tilt down, up, but no rocker, which I think is ultimately fine. And there he is from the back. Real quick, this piece here comes off and then he can kind of hold this, but it doesn't fit really well in his hand. And I think most of us kind of see him with this plugged in anyway, so I would just leave it there. Also, the head is on a ball peg, but you really can only utilize the swivel because of this piece. And the ankles, there's no real proper rocker, but there is a swivel here. It is just ungodly tight, which is why I missed it previously, but you can get it and it will help. Moving on to Scrapper. So unpeg his arms from the side of his body and rotate his shoulders down towards his back, and then just sort of begin to straighten everything out, and flipping hands out should be fairly obvious where stuff goes as you begin to kind of make sense of the anatomy. So there's one, and we'll flip this hand out. And there's two. Unpeg the wheels, remove the weapon, which is his accessory. Red paint there and some Tampo paint. Looks good. And he'll hold it just fine. Let's see. Untab the legs. These kind of just rock down. Ooh, that didn't sound good. On both sides. And we can twist the waist 180, spin the pelvis back around. The wheels come up and tab in the same way they did in combined mode. And then straighten the feet. And this just comes, I think it faces the back. The head spins around. And yeah, I think that's it. There he is. We'll just go through articulation now. So the paint looks phenomenal. The red metallic per usual. The head is on a ball peg. You get up, down, and a swivel. The shoulders spin up. But it kind of, it undoes the transformation. But I think that's fine. And then they also spin backward on a different hinge. And then they shift out to 90 degrees. Then you have a bicep swivel, a single hinged elbow that gets you 90 degrees, and a wrist swivel where we rotated the hand. The waist is on a ball peg, so you get a swivel, you get a little bit of an ab crunch forward and back, and a little bit of a teapot side to side. And then you have T-jointed ball joints for hips, little limited out to the side. Forward and back is no problem. Thigh swivels around the hip joint. And then you get a knee joint that gets you 90 degrees. No real ankle tilt. It's all in the toe, but I think that's fine. Ankle tilt up, down, but it's really a toe tilt. And then a rocker, which is pretty cool. So there he is, and there he is from the back. All right, so let's get him into robot mode. Flip this piece back. Disconnect this front end piece from this gray piece, so that's kind of free floating. You see he's holding on here with his hands, holding on for dear life. So release that peg, extend the arms, and then you can flip this back onto itself, and then just sort of kind of orient the arms using the bicep swivel and the wrist swivel on both sides. So extend the arm, collapse this gray piece on top of itself, orient the bicep swivel and the wrist swivel. Then you want to bring down this chest piece on a double hinge, which will allow you to rotate the kind of torso down. Then you can flip the head up, bring these pieces down, and like they spin out and then they hinge down on both sides, and then this will come back up and plug in to form the chest. So this gray piece makes up the helmet. Spin it around to the back of the head. Once it's there, these ears, these light gray ears on his face, they have to be lined up just right. And once they are, these side gray pieces will flip down just fine. If they're not, it's going to give you some resistance. If you meet resistance, stop, because they will go in perfectly, and then flip down the front. Bring this backpack up and over to his back, and then for the feet, flip these pieces in. You should capture the little tab on both. Why do I feel like this one's already done? And then flip this one around, the toes, and then this one around, and then rotate your tires towards the back. And here is long haul, and the metallic red on the eyes looks great as it does on the visor. The head is on this pin. This pin, I think this is an example of what Robert was talking about with some of the QC stuff. So this head here is on a hinge, so you get the swivel. Where the pin connects to this peg is where you get the swivel, rather. The other one is where you get the up and down. Silver paint looks good. The shoulders get up on these gray pieces, and they get around to about 90 degrees forward. Bicep swivel. Single hinged elbow gets you 90 degrees. And silver there on the chest. The orange on top of the purple looks great. No waist swivel that I can find. It might be there, but I don't know that it is, because I think like this the swivel is built into Devastator in a way where you can't utilize it here. We have universals for hips. They get you for the full Van Damme and the full Monty. Joints are a little stiff. And then you have a thigh swivel. You have a knee that gets you a little shy of 90 degrees. And then no ankle tilts or anything, but you do get this toe rocker, which will act as an ankle rocker. He also has his weapons that are stowed in the back here. A little challenging to get out. And then they'll go into 5mm ports in his hand. And the weapons themselves have the gray and metallic red paint on them. And that's pretty much this guy in a nutshell. That's pretty gangster right there, isn't it? Bonecrusher. So you could take the side pieces off. These are his guns. We'll show them here in a bit. Actually, we'll talk about it right now. Purple sculpts look good. Orange paint, no issues. We have to kind of extend him. So open up everything. Like a lot of this is just tabbed together. Just start untabbing and manipulating the stuff down into like a general human shape. And then you want to rotate the shoulders up, slide down the arms, and then rotate them so that his hands are facing forward. And then you can see he can hold his guns just fine. They'll also tab into his back, and these will come up, and they'll actually notch right into like this little indentation in his chest there. You can fold this forward and then collapse this into his chest to kind of form his more iconic chest plate. I just wanted to say, like, I went and double checked on the instructions, and it looks like you put them up, but there is like a little, I guess that fits better for the shoulders, but there is a little indentation there, so it's a little strange either way. Open up this flap here, and then fold the track around. So this comes down, and then this comes out. Open up these panels here, and you got to bring out this whole section. Now, if you get this little part of the heel, you can bring the whole foot forward. So I recommend just grabbing this heel. This little part here in the back flips out. Then use the heel as a lever to kind of move the whole toe forward, and then put that back in position. So this whole section slides forward, and you're good to go. As for the figure, we have a head swivel. It's on a ball peg, so you get up, down, and the swivel. We have translucent plastics for the eyes and forehead now, as opposed to the metallics that we have for the lower limbs. I'm not sure why they did that. It doesn't look as good. The shoulders themselves are on universals. They'll get out to 90 degrees, and you'll get the swivel 360. They also get a bit of a reverse butterfly, so that's nice. I also like these silver handles here, Tampo paint, all the same kind of deco per usual. Bicep swivel, single hinged elbow that if we remove the gun, you'll see almost gets the full run. And then we have no waist swivel due to the engineering, but we do have Tampo paint on the chest and the orange accents there. T-jointed ball joints for hips, get you out to 90 degrees. Forward and back for the full Monty. And then we have a thigh swivel around the ball peg. We have a single hinge knee that gets you a little bit past 90 degrees. And then the ankles, if you manipulate this, you can get the ankle tilt down, up, and then they do rock as well. So pretty cool little fella. For Scavenger, we unpeg the side arms here just to get access to the legs. The legs are the same as Bonecrushers, so just untab them from this middle purple piece here. The middle purple piece itself, once you bring these pieces out and around, same as Bonecrushers, right? Down, collapse. This purple piece will come up, and it has to kind of clear the hips, and it doesn't feel great, but it will go, as you just saw. And then once again, the feet are the same. So you just open this up, and then my advice: grab the toe, open up this back piece here, use the toe as leverage to bring the foot around, and then close that down and lock that into the heel. Same for the other side. Open up your panel, use the heel as leverage to bring the foot around, close that in, and the articulation for the lower legs is the same, so we'll probably skip that. So spin the waist 180, bring the arms around, collapse the forearm into itself, and then flip the fist out, and that's gonna go for both sides. Arms around, forearm into itself, fist out. Lastly, open up the chest, flip the head out, and then close the chest. And then you can either collapse this against his back, or you can take this off and use it as a weapon. But this doesn't quite fit great in his hand, but you can. So, your call. All right. It's like 19 degrees outside, so it's gonna be one of those days. Heads on a ball peg. We got translucent again for the eyes. You get it limited up, limited down. And the swivel is really... Oh, it doesn't get the full swivel, because this gray piece here on the back stops it. Huh, that's a little weird. Interesting. And then you have the shoulders. So the shoulders get a full reverse butterfly, which is cool. You also get the swivel around for 360, and you get out to the side and all the way up. So perfectly articulated in that regard. Crazy. No bicep swivel, which is interesting. And then you get a wrist hinge in and out. Same for the other side. The chest has some good deco on it with the translucent and then the orange gray, 2 shades of gray on it. There he is from the back, and we've already talked about this, and he has a waist swivel. And then for Hook. So you can put his head down, or his visor back on, and then you have his arms here. They can unpeg and rotate out to the side. The wheel things here are on ball pegs, so you can kind of have whatever, you know, whichever way you particularly care for aesthetically. I think that they're supposed to be like this, but it never quite looks the most clean, right? It's just sort of like, you could have it this way, you could have it down, you could have it up, you could have it on the back. Rotate the bicep swivel around and then fix the hand, and now you're good to go. Come around to the legs, detach them from the crotch piece here. That will allow you to kind of put, you know, the upper body with the lower body. And then rotate 180. Take your crotch piece, collapse it up against the crotch and then towards the butt. Then you just have your feet and your heel on both sides. There you go. And heel. And then we have the one last thing, if I can get this, there, God bless, I don't know what I made up there. Okay, is this piece. So you can have this sort of down. It will like be a little tight up against the bottom, but it also removes, and then this becomes his weapon that plugs in on a 5mm port as well. So we'll just show that, and then we'll get it out of the way so that we can go through the figure. Whew, what a review. So metallic red on the visor and on the top there. It's on a ball peg that's attached to a hinge. So using both, you can get up to there, down to there. The swivel. The shoulders get out to the side. If you want to rotate these pieces, you can get a little bit further. It all depends on kind of how you want them. I don't even know what's the proper place. You can have them either way, whatever you like. I think the wheels towards the front might be better. Probably. Bicep swivel, single hinged elbow that gets you 90 degrees, and a wrist swivel. Deco stays true throughout. Waist swivel. We have universals for hips this time. They get you out for 90 degrees for the full Van Damme and forward and back for the full Monty. You have a thigh swivel at a cut joint. A knee on a single hinge that gets you 90 degrees, toe tilt down, toe tilt up, and a rocker, which is pretty nuts. And then there he is from the back. Let's take a look at the whole team together. And there they are. And I think they look really good, man, especially for what they are, you know, like these little fellas, you know, and I think they work, and I think they look really cool. And I think that it's a very kind of cohesive looking set, and it all matches their kind of general aesthetic, and it just pulls off the whole vibe. I think they've done a great job here. Wise, let's start with the negatives. So there are some joint tolerance issues here and there. To be fair, there's a lot of joints. If you think about all 6 of these bots plus the combined parts forming parts, etc., like there's a lot of joints. So I guess it's only fair that some of them would be toleranced better than others. However, there are some here that are kind of so tight that it does make for a less than enjoyable experience. Other than that, I think that's pretty much all I got. Robert D had warned me about fragility with long haul. I don't get that at all. So I don't know if he was having a bad day or something, but I can only speak from my experience, and I don't have any issue with that. My only issue here is with some of the joint tolerances. That's it. I think the materials are good. I think it's beautifully painted with Tampo paint, metallic paints, flat grays, mixed with some translucent elements here and there. They have rubber tires. It's just like they throw everything they have at their products, and I appreciate it. There's a fun factor and a playability factor with everything they do that just echoes in everything they do. They care. This is a company that takes pride in what they produce, and it shows in everything, in every single aspect. The way that the accessories integrate into the alt modes and into the bot modes. I'm sure I've missed stuff because there's just so much here to unpack. All the bots are articulated to a level that's at least fun, and then Devastator himself holds up under good hardware, strong materials, and a decent build. I don't know what more you would want in something like this that's very niche, but if you want a whole lot more, you might be a little greedy. A great set, strong recommend from me. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, until next time, take care.